concerned about the state of the economy because business does appear to be slowing in recent months across virtually any sector you care to name, then you might be considering buying a high-quality utility stock, especially now that the Fed has indicated that they're going to raise interest rates slowly, maybe by a quarter point, just 4 times a year, and carefully, meaning they'll stop if things get worse. That's good. It's good news for the utilities, which are almost uniformly high-yielding dividend stocks that need to compete with the return from bonds. And a world where the Fed is taking its time is a world where these dividend stocks can thrive, which brings me to Consolidated Edison, ConEd for short, the regulated provider of power and natural gas in the New York metro area. It's got small parts of New Jersey and Pennsylvania. ConEd serves one of the strongest markets in the whole country. And while right now it seems like we've been kind of stuck with an insanely warm weather for Christmas here, coming right into the holiday, I have to believe that eventually it will get colder and people will turn the heat on. Worst case, we skip the winter, and when it heats up, we'll be putting on the AC. Now, ConEd is a high-quality company with serial raise of its dividend, bound for 4% yield at these levels, and I think it's darn attractive. The stock has had a good week, including today when it held up there despite the broader decline in the averages. I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't keep going. Let's take a closer look with John McAvoy. He's the chairman and CEO of Consolidated Edison. Find out more about his company and how it's doing. Mr. McAvoy, welcome back to Mad Money. Good to see you, sir.
Oh, great
Have a
to
seat.
see you, Jim.
All right.
Good to be here.
Okay, John. People want to just equate, well, it's warm, it must be bad for utilities. It's not really like that, is it?
So, actually, a lot of people think that when we sell more energy, we make more money. In fact, we do not for our gas and electric systems. We have something called revenue decoupling, which means that we are revenue neutral when it comes to weather variations. And the idea behind that is that it allows us to push energy efficiency to help our customers use less of our product without negatively affecting our earnings. So, we encourage everybody to enjoy the warm weather and enjoy your lower heating bills.
Okay, but they're going to say, well, wait a second, then how do they make money? And how do they make more money than they did the previous year if that's all that it's about?
So the structure in New York is that we make money on prudently invested capital investments. And so we're allowed to make a rate of a return on equity that is based specifically on the amount we invest. We're overseen by the Public Service Commission to make sure we're prudently investing and doing that in the customer's interest.
But you're in a growth area, and there's not many areas in the country that are growth areas. So more people in New York and more conversions from oil to natural gas, good for you.
So a story of two commodities there. Electric is basically flat, both in terms of peak electric usage and overall customer volumes. And that's not a surprise. That's driven by our energy efficiency programs, which we've had for years. We've been encouraging and, in fact, subsidizing, paying customers to take advantage of energy efficiency opportunities. And as a result, even though there's a lot of build-out in New York City, we have relatively flat electric usage. Good for our customers, good for their bills, good for the environment. Gas is a different story. Gas, we're seeing about 2.3% increase year over year for the next 5 years. And that's largely driven by oil to gas conversions. Natural gas is attractive, lower cost than oil heating alternatives, good for the environment, reduce carbon emissions, also better for customers' equipment.
Now, the younger generation, when they're watching, they're more interested than my generation, I have to admit, in alternative sources of power. We just weren't that interested. Now we are, but we're Johnny-come-latelys. Newsweek said you were the world's highest, they said you're the greenest utility, and also at the same time, you've been voted the world's highest reliability in electricity company. How is it possible that you can use alternative, where some people say it's intermittent, and yet still be voted the most reliable?
So I think with the Newsweek naming us as the greenest utility in the country, largely related to our ability to reduce emissions. And that's largely related to making our system more efficient by reducing the emissions from our fleet and those natural gas conversions that I mentioned earlier. We also, through our unregulated businesses, have a large solar and wind business. That's throughout the country, not in the New York area. It's in California, in Texas, in Nevada. We have wind in South Dakota, Nebraska, and Ohio. And we've been able to grow that business to the benefit of the shareholders while providing renewable energy to those locales.
Well, how's the economy doing from what you can see, just in terms of metered energy business? I mean, you're in an area that's got to stay strong because there's a lot of parts of the country that are getting weaker.
One of the things that makes our service story so attractive is that the vitality of the New York economy. Historically, it has been related to financial services. Not anymore. The New York economy is so diverse. It includes, of course, tourism. Every year we break a new record. It has got high-tech, Google and Twitter and Facebook. Education, expansion of universities in the area, as well as hospitals. And so healthcare, put them all together, and we have a really strong base that we're working off of.
Okay, I know you always have to spend. I mean, you're always talking about that you have to replace parts that are down, they're 40 to 60 years old, as routinely. But you also have the cyber terror issue. Now, that's something that ConEd suddenly has to pay for that wouldn't be in the numbers typically. How do you keep that spend at a right level, knowing that cyber terrorists could be anywhere?
Yeah, so cyber and physical security are the top of our risk reduction list.
Okay.
Absolutely. And we collaborate both with people in the industry and with government officials. We have great relationships with the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, the Secret Service, as well as state officials to make sure that we understand the nature of the threat and we're using the latest techniques to ensure that we're protected.
Okay, also, we get a lot of companies with Salesforce, but also talk to Honeywell a lot. The metering keeps getting better and better, right? The technology behind it.
So this is one of the most exciting things we have coming up for the future. We call it AMI, Advanced Metering Infrastructure. And basically what we'll be doing is replacing people's electric meters with new meters that communicate directly to us. So we'll know real time what the usage is at virtually every customer on our system. A couple of obvious benefits. We won't have to come to read your meter anymore. And for people when the meter is in the basement or in the house,
right,
don't have that inconvenience, but much, much more than that. When somebody moves into an apartment and wants to do what we call a turn on, they call, they establish the account with us, and while they're on the phone, we'll be able to turn their electricity on for them. To add on to that, when there's outages, we'll know about it right away. We won't be counting on customers calling us, and so many times we'll be able to fix it before the customer even knows about it, and we'll be able to do that much more efficiently because we'll know how wide the outage is, and we'll be able to diagnose it remotely.
Well, that's classic Internet of Things.
And I got to add one more thing onto that because
right,
it's just fantastic. With AMI, we'll be able to plan and control our system much more precisely, and that'll allow us to control voltage in a way that'll reduce total usage by almost 1%. 1% lower usage, 24/7, 365. All that reduced usage goes right back to the customer in terms of savings, and it's better for the environment.
Well, that's what people want to hear. I know this. This is the story that people want. They don't want coal. They want what you're doing. Okay, that's John McAvoy. He's the chairman and CEO of ConEd, one of the most reliable dividend payers with a nice growth story. Mad Money's back after the break. Booyah! Jim Cramer here from Mad Money. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube. Click here to subscribe and get the jump on my exclusives with CEOs, plus market news, investing advice, and a whole lot more.